Hey guys, this is Pat Jenkins of On the Hill Media and voice of Fayetteville High Bulldogs Athletics. Make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel that's On the Hill Media. Make sure you hit the bell for all notifications. As we say, let's get it.
And welcome in live.
Hey guys,
We're here
this
at
is Pat
T-Max
Jenkins
Southern
of On the
Kitchen,
Hill
located
Media
at 2190
and
MLK
voice of
Boulevard. It's talking season here on the Hill Media. We're going to have a brief 30-minute show today, as we're going to have to get out. Today is a very sad day for the Arkansas media, as we lost one of our brothers, and I want to send out all my prayers and condolences to the Holt family. Bob Holt, the GOAT of Arkansas media, and as far as all Razorback coverage, left the earth early or late last night. So just not it's I got a lot of good memories of Bob and will always cherish my memories, but I can't say was the greatest to ever do it. He was a guy that you always went to media day just because you knew. I mean, that so many coaches and so many other media outlets throughout the country, everybody knew Bob Holt, and everybody showed him respect. And just want to send out my prayers to the family. And like I said, R.I.P., buddy. You will be very, very greatly missed in this business. And I just don't know if media day or any type of press conference when we cover the Razorbacks going forward, it just won't be the same without BH.
No, it definitely won't be the same. You know, when you think about a lot of the press conferences, Bob usually starts and asks the first question, and we automatically
First and last.
Yeah, first and last. So we usually default to him to break the ice. I call him the icebreaker because he always seemed to ask questions that I would never think to ask, and he would just make subtle remarks that would just make us forget we were in a press conference.
Yeah.
It almost would make it seem like we just with the boys and or some friends just out chilling, and Bob would just ask some questions right in the middle of the press conferences. So I'm just honored to have met him. He was a good friend. He doesn't know a stranger. As long as you
Right.
speak to him, he's gonna strike a conversation. So that's really what I loved about him. He didn't care that I wasn't the typical media coming in. He didn't know anything about me, but anytime he saw me, he made sure to speak, would say hello. So R.I.P.
You'll always be cherished, for knowing a guy like Bob Holt. But back to Razorback football. Recruiting. Big news yesterday, and I think still people are talking about it throughout the country. Madden, I can't even say that name. I'm going to have to get used to it because he's going to be here at the University of Arkansas. His brother Nico, I can't even say that last name.
I think it's Imaluwea.
If you know how to give a better pronunciation, please share that with me. Please.
Break it phonetically down in the comments. Break it down how you.
Now, I can say next week we are going to try to reach out to some of the recruits, some of the Arkansas signees next Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and kind of bring back our old Hall Guys segment that we've always had on the Hill, and let you guys delve off a little bit into these guys and meet them and kind of get in touch with the future of the University of Arkansas Razorbacks. It's just I'm really, really feeling good about signing day. Felt that Arkansas went and got quarterbacks, got 2 running backs. You got an athlete. You signed 3 wide receivers. You were able to get 4 offensive linemen. You signed 5 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 2 DBs. They did very well, Demetrius, to sign 24 young men. I believe 23 out of the high school ranks, a junior college offensive lineman. They were able to get the size, the speed, and I think quite a few guys that as freshmen could or possibly, which as I think over half the class, maybe 19 of the 24, will be here for next spring to go through spring and the weight program. I think some of these guys will be able to get on the field, particularly those defensive linemen.
I think next year you're going to have a true, what they say, competition. I think having this NIL, I think coaches and administration are understanding how to balance these things, even with paying certain guys to come in and play certain situations or positions. I think there's going to be a fair and even playing field as far as how the money's dispersed,
right,
which to me will actually allow fair competition. It won't go back to, well, I paid this kid X amount, so I got to pay him to get my boosters return on. It's going to be, hey, this is fair, square. Whoever comes out and balls out, because I don't think, and this is just me, and I love it. I think when you talk about KJ Jackson, then you talk about Taylor Green possibly coming back, and then you talk about Madden coming. I think you're truly going to have a 3-way competition. And
Mr. Grayson Wilson down there at Conway, he'll be in the mix.
Oh, yeah, but I think those 3 guys are still head above him athletically, and I think when you talk about the type of system that they're going to play on, I think those 3 are built. Honestly, I'm like, I don't mean this in any disrespect or not saying the kid doesn't have a chance to play there. I just think those 3, when you talk about a Petrino quarterback, fit the mold. And even Taylor, from what you saw, to me, I think he's second or third on that pecking order. I'm just going to be honest. With what I saw this year, I'm coming in letting KJ and Madden come in and actually have a fair chance and say, hey, I've seen tape on Taylor. I know he's going to give me – And I think Sam Pittman is going to give him benefit of the doubt for the offensive line. Sam has came out and defended him for a lot of those turnovers quite a bit, and it happened to do with issues on the offensive line.
Right.
But I still think because the landscape will change and have a little bit more balance, I think it's going to be an even competition in the quarterback room.
Terry Preston Royce says, will Sam and Petrino be there next year? Do y'all feel they underachieve? Well, I'll answer both those questions. Yes and no, they didn't underachieve. And the reason why I say that is, I've heard a lot of people now, when you go back and you look at the totality of this season and you see 6-6, you have expectations that you didn't have. Because I think when you talk about the Missouri, and I've said this multiple times, the Old State, A&M, Missouri games, nobody in the state, and even a lot of the national media and even local media, had those games as losses. So when this team does finish 13th nationally in total offense, look at where they were last year. Look at how bad they were. I mean, this team finished did they have the leading receiver in the conference last year? And it's so funny, this guy had over 1,100 yards with 1 touchdown. They were really good on third down this year. The turnover bug is the difference of this team being 6-6 and at no worse 9-3. So I can't say they underachieved. To me, I think they overachieved because you knew that they were going to be a better team.
I won't say they overachieved, Pat. I definitely won't say they overachieved because I definitely thought they were going to get 7-5. I'm just going to be honest. I gave them 7-5 purely off of what I saw from summer into spring. But I think to game situations that they didn't achieve that. I don't think it was due to talent or anything of that nature. I think they just happened to let some games go away. But, yeah, I would say they underachieved from a overall win because I think now we're talking about beyond breaking even now, Pat. I think with the way college football is, if you want to stay a top 25 team, you can't afford to have 6-6 seasons.
Right.
And you can't have them consistently because, one, you're gonna lose your fan base from wanting to invest money, and then two, a lot of the other kids are just gonna go elsewhere where they can make money.
Right.
So to me, again, I think we have to still have at least a base standard of that 7-5, where it's like, okay, we can't be 500, and that gives a chance of us going 8-5 in a good bowl game where, hey, we're still talking about, because there was a couple of teams 9-3.
We had some 9-3.
9-3s that were in the top 25, even in, I would say, top 12?
But I say the fan base, I think the expectation went up after the season, and you saw the body of work.
I'm just speaking from just you and I, Pat.
We thought that, but the question. I mean, I think, like I said, when you look at this team was in outside of Ole Miss. Take that game out. This team in the late stages of the fourth quarter was in every single game. It was not a lack of talent and a lack of effort. I mean, it was too many turnovers at inopportune times on short fields that really directly related to your losses. I mean, you can't have 15-1 in turnovers and 6 losses and 60-0 when most of the time when you go back and you look at the stats, they were out gaining. I mean, they were out, having the ball longer. I mean, they were really the better team statistically, but stats are for losers. I mean, at the end of the day, stats are for losers. Hey. The turnovers at the wrong time. So I wouldn't say they overachieved. I think they exceeded expectations from really the national media because let's face it,
they had them going. They were last. Wins. They had them last in the SEC.
14th.
So I will say, yes. When you put that in perspective, Pat, I will say that when you look at how they ranked going back to SEC Media Day, I can definitely say.
And you can also say it says something, Terry, for Coach Sam Pittman and Coach Petrino, that they'll be here to be able to get a kid like Madden, whatever that name is. I'll get used to it because you're probably going to see it a lot on Saturdays. I mean, and think about this kid. This kid put up enormous numbers only his junior year. Now we failed to realize he was a 4-star and didn't even play his senior year. I mean, this kid had to sit out due to transfer rules and was unable to play his senior year. And still, 3 or 4 of the major recruiting services held him in high regard and kept him in that 4-star status. I mean, 6'3", 200 pounds. To get this kid to flip, right there at the last minute, and he had a lot of offers. I mean, let's just be blatantly honest. He could have gone anywhere. To get he and his teammate, 2 guys that, I mean, were really highly thought of. I mean, that's big. I mean, that's big, and it speaks to – the job that Sam and his staff were able to do and the culture that they're starting to create.
Yeah, I just like the competition because to me, when you talk about championship teams, even when you look at Texas, let's just look at Texas for example. Look how many running backs they lost this year. Look at how many wide receivers got hurt this year. Look at how many quarterbacks they were able to play throughout the year. To be a championship team, you have to have that type of depth,
right.
And I think when you start getting a KJ Jackson, when you start getting a Taylor Green, you start getting a Madden, and you got 3 guys that, hey, I got 3+ guys because you're still naming other guys that you feel, hey, they may not come out here being starters, but they'll be crucial additions to a scout team or whatever they may be. Right. I think those are steps that we have to take consistently, and those no misses. We can't have those misses in the transfer portal.
Hey, Jared says Hogs only won 1 game. They should have won. Got to start playing with the big top dogs. I agree. And then Mr. Roy comes back and said, do y'all think Sam is capable of getting them in the playoff hunt soon? That all depends. I mean, it's so much that with the transfer portal and development, which can't even – development is a moot point anymore in college athletics, especially football, because the rosters change year in and year out. But what I can say – it's not just the coach. A coach is only as good as his assistants. I mean, they have to be excellent evaluators of talent, but be it either the transfer portal, JUCO, or the high school ranks. You can't miss an evaluation because if you do, we all seen how that can go. I think the longer this culture and this staff stays together, continuity is real big nowadays with kids. I mean, you can't build a culture if you're shifting coaches and assistants year in and year out. there's going to be a really good culture here built, and I think with the talent that they've been able to assemble, a lot of these kids they've been able to keep past the COVID speaks volumes for what type of culture is really. I think it's a lot. It isn't as bad inside as the fans seem on the outside. I mean, a lot of these kids, and for them to be able to retain all but 2 of the kids that had been committed leading up to signing day, and to be able to flip 3, possibly 4 really good 4 or 5 stars kids. I mean, that speaks. You really can't tell. Recruiting classes, I've always said, and Demetrius heard me say this over the years, you cannot tell about a recruiting class on how it pans out until at least they've been here 2 years. I think, and I'll still continue to say this, the defensive line class that Arkansas is bringing to the University of Arkansas, I think will go down in the history of this school as one of the best groups to ever come through and play defensive line at this school. I just feel really strong about Caleb Bell, Kevin Oates, Sellers, and those guys. I feel really good about them.
And
Vaughn.
And this is going back to
Johnson.
This is going back to, do I think they'll ever make it to the playoffs in the next few years? I think what it's going to take for Sam Pittman to get into the playoffs is almost what happened with Madden. We're going to have to recruit kids that are able to go out and recruit players that we wouldn't have otherwise gotten unless they put a word in for the University of Arkansas. You know, I've been seeing a lot of comments about Taylor Green hitting up Ashton Gentry to come to Arkansas and play running back. It takes those type of it takes those type of moves for Arkansas to ever be considered in the college football playoffs, because we need those type of players. And until we can get those type of players back on campus and know we have those type of players on campus.
Now, I do know that there was a side note that Madden's father and Madden himself did reach out here in the last 24 to 48 hours to talk to Taylor Green about how it is to be in a Bobby Petrino offense. I mean, Madden was going to play for an offense coordinator in Eric Bieniemy at UCLA, who's renowned. I mean, very renowned. So it's the tutelage is what they were looking for.
Not only that, I think people are understanding where college sports are going. A lot of these other conferences are about to become irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why, because the TV deals are going to follow the money.
Yeah.
There's no more tradition. There's no more love for the university them fighting for it. No. Now these TV networks are going to understand, I got to go where tickets are being sold, and I got to go where there's butts in seats. Mm-hmm. And that is the SEC.
Yes.
And I think a lot of parents are understanding and seeing that, hey, if I do want the big dollars and I don't plan on going and making that transition to the NFL, I got to go in one of these Power 4 conferences. Yeah. I can't afford to try to go to one of these smaller schools and bank on possibly getting a major NIL deal. I got to go.
And also too,
major colleges.
And we all continue to talk about when the revenue sharing is passed, and I feel real good in saying that it'll probably be passed. You're talking about ADs not having to go out and fundraise. Now that takes the onus off of your in-state local Arkansas family to say, that $100. Now it's not so much of a strain because the AD's not going to have to ask for so much money. I mean, if you get 25 million in revenue sharing, I'm pretty sure football get 12. Now, when they go from 10 to 22, whole different deal when you're talking about that. Now you can divvy it up. And I think if I'm the AD and you do this revenue sharing, it should be performance-based by the program. I think the programs that are producing the most after you get football, because football is the cash cow, the breadwinner, without question.
Absolutely.
That's just the way it is, and they should get the lion's share of the money. Yeah.
Seats alone tell you where the money is being generated.
But I do think when the revenue sharing is passed, I think the playing field gets even more equal, and then you see even more parity because now those NIL deals become NIL deals, not just deals to get kids to come to school. I mean, I think you'll see a lot less than a lot Not as many as those 1.5s. I think then you start looking at 450 to 500,000, but they will be monitored as to is this legitimately the right amount of money for the NIL deal. It'll be what NIL should have been when they first talked about it. But I do think Arkansas will be one of those schools that will and does have a chance to benefit through the revenue sharing. I mean, when you have an equal playing field and kids know they're going to get something, a lot of that ego and jealousy goes away.
But Pat, I still think we're so far away from that because you're talking about changing laws between all the states. You're talking about autonomy about what each state can do, and I'm not sure if we're there yet.
I think each state will keep their rules. I just think that once they pass the revenue sharing within the NCAA and then each school, I think the
Pat,
conferences.
to me, that enables the conferences that do have better state rules.
That's where we're going.
Like
that's where we're going. You're going to have to pick a conference, and what conference is going to have more revenue sharing than the SEC?
Not only that, to me, it looks at, okay, whoever still has the NIL budget outside of the revenue sharing is still going to be king. Because if you're telling me that if I'm still going to follow my state's NIL rules and, in addition, I have revenue sharing, that means I have twice the advantage because now I can say, hey, we're going to break even over here with you.
Yes.
You got $5 million, I got $5 million. And now you only got additional $5 million in your NIL, and I got an additional $20 million.
Yeah.
So who's really winning?
It is going to be the haves and the have-nots. It's going to be that.
Who's really? Is it
what people signed up for?
Is this really is revenue sharing really going to make it more even?
I agree with you, Terry. The NIL has both hurt and helped college football and college sports in general. I totally agree with that. I mean, I agree with that 100%, without question. I mean, totally without question. But, hey, we got a big SEC championship game coming up. We're going to take a break, and then we'll talk about that a little bit before we wrap it up. It's our Thursday edition, live from C-Max Southern Kitchen at 2190 MLK Boulevard.
Hey guys, this is Pat Jenkins of On the Hill Media and voice of Fayetteville High Bulldogs Athletics. Make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel that's On the Hill Media. Make sure you hit the bell for all notifications. As we say, let's get it. And welcome back here for our final segment of our Thursday edition. It's Talking Season. We're here live at 2190 MLK Boulevard, C-Max Southern Kitchen. If you're in town out and about and you're real hungry, which I know if you're like me, that's all the time, at either location here at 2190 or 7420 West Sunset Avenue as our Tiny Town location, if you'll go in there and say you heard this advertisement on the Hill Media, they will grant you 25% off of your meal. I'm telling you, it's worth it. It is worth the time to pull in there and say those words, and then you get to reap the benefits, the rewards. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at my man D. He's got some barbecue-flavored
Sauce down
tenders that are just, I mean, they're smelling like Nobody's business. I'm telling you, it's so hard to focus right now. I'm trying to focus, but
Impact.
when you get next to this, it's real hard to focus.
I got to give a shout-out to my guy, Carl. I ain't seen him in a while, but
Hey.
he made sure to have me sauced up.
Mr. Carl can go as
Mr.
well.
Carl, shout out to Mr. Carl. I appreciate you for taking care of me. You
Yes.
had my food right, had the corn nuggets
Yes.
jumping.
Hey, if you're not doing anything all weekend and you're out and about, like I said here at 2190 MLK or 7420 West Sunset, or also right off of Highway 412 there in Siloam Springs, be sure and get by. Support C-Mac Southern Kitchen. I mean, they have. I'm telling you, it's the best food. It is truly made Southern at heart, and it is just that good. I promise you. Go in and tell them you heard the advertisement on the Hill Media, and for 25% off, they'll get you taken care of. You can see Miss Amy at the Tawnytown location, Mr. Krista, or you can catch Chris at the Siloam Springs locations. Great environment, great food, and I'm telling you won't be disappointed. Hey, but that's going to wrap it up. Hey, real quick, SEC Championship game, who we got? I'm taking the Georgia Bulldogs to do it again and get an even better seed heading into the 12-team
I'm
playoff.
taking Texas, man.
Taking Texas? Okay.
I'm taking Texas. And what's crazy is we had a long debate at the beginning of the year. Was
I
Texas
still got that. We both said Texas. We anticipated to be Texas and Georgia at SEC Media. I remember we were sitting at the table talking about that. We just happened to be, I guess, gurus or something. I don't know. Or we must be Cleo's brother.
Hey,
We just keep it real.
got a little
Hey,
juice.
but we're going to get out of here. Thank you to our sponsors. That being said, Lindsay and Associates, First Choice Protection Systems, Fayetteville Glass, and our good buddy where we do our show here each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, C-Mac Southern Kitchen. From our producer, Demetrius Johnson, and myself, we're going to have a great week. Hey, we'll be back Monday. It's on the Hill, and it's been talking season, live from C-Mac Southern Kitchen. And you know what our last words are.